preferable future. If you look at the future that you prefer and you begin at your preferable future, then you can decide, you make decisions from there. So the decisions that you make, okay, will lead you to your prefer. As a matter of fact, the decisions that you make will lead you to your future. And that is why it is important for you to make the decisions that will specifically take you to your preferable future. Any decision you make is going to take you to a future, but is it going to be the future that you're going to enjoy? Is it going to be a future that you would have consciously chosen? Here's the thing, you do have the opportunity to consciously choose that future. So every day you have options, you have decisions to make. Uh, if you prefer to become a registered nurse, then you choose the school that is going to prepare you. You complete your assignments, you engage in class, you complete all the requisite courses, okay? You meet the criteria for graduation, you pass the exam, okay? That makes you uh, a registered nurse. But if you start and stop or fail at this and that, you will never conclusion. So instead, persons end up with a future that matches the decisions they made. Okay, so whether it's going to be a possible, plausible, preferable, probable, or preferable future, it is all going to come down to the sum total of the choices that you make. So feel empowered to make choices, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes persons allow society or expectations or persons' words affect their choices. So, for example, a person may want something and somebody said no. Okay. Does that mean you no longer want it just because the person said no? Okay, so you still desire it. So, what are you going to do? All right. Find out the reason the person said no, and then, eliminate the reasons. Okay. Eliminate the reasons. Okay. But if it is something that you desire, you have the responsibility to make the decisions. Because remember, whatever your future is will be a sum total of every single decision you make. All right. Now, when it comes to healthcare, the future of healthcare is like wide open right now. There are technological innovations from communications to patient examination, patient monitoring, surgery, and various other automated technology, all right, that will impact the way care is delivered, the way persons engage with healthcare, and also access to healthcare, right? Today, the technologies allow a surgeon to do a surgery from another continent, okay? So the technologies are great, and there are even more upcoming technologies that will change the way healthcare is delivered. And so, with so many changes, it's very important that we as healthcare givers are aware of it and get a requisite knowledge and education so we keep abreast of the changes in healthcare. Okay. Healthcare legislation also changes. Sometimes technologies force a legislation to be revised, or it may force new healthcare legislations. Okay. it is important to recognize that whenever there's something new in healthcare, the implications are not always necessarily seen right away. But as you engage the technology or the legislation in the real world, you may recognize opportunities for improvement, or you may recognize barriers to successful implementation, management, or even administration. And these are going to be valuable information to bring forward as healthcare develops. Okay. And of course, there is consumerism that does also affect healthcare, right? Who knew that during COVID, cosmetic surgery, the demand for cosmetic surgery would have gone up? All right. So wherever the consumer demands are, healthcare is going to lean towards that. And so we have to be aware of changes in the technological environment, changes in the legislative environment, and changes in consumer demand. Okay, and to adjust, not as a leader, you may need to, for you to survive, you may need to adjust the type of services that are delivered. You know, my husband watches this thing all the time where persons go to a drive-through communities, and sometimes you have these once thriving communities, and they would give the history about the community and all that. And but then the community has died. Why? Because there was no leader to help the community change with the changing time. So people leave to go, changes are taking place, and that community dies. So the healthcare leader has to begin to recognize any shifts in their environment. I'll give you a story. When I first moved to the place where I currently lived, when I came here, the average age of the population was actually 80. There was a community hospital that really catered to geriatric care. Over time, you had younger people moving in, okay, and then staying, and then having children. And so the healthcare demands changed. So now you have a hospital being built for obstetrics and gynecology, and then for pediatrics, right? And then as the population continues to age, the demand for different types of healthcare came in. And so now you have a robust healthcare system, and now you have choices. Okay, for certain disorders, you go to this facility, for others, you go to another facility. All right. And so the organizations like the community hospital now blossomed into like in one area, it's a level 1 trauma center, but they have all these other services available. There's also the development of the mental health unit. And then in another area, that community hospital blossomed into a regional hospital. All right. And so organizations have to change as well. But if you're going to be a leader, for you to change the organization, you have to be aware of the changes that are taking place in, as we said, the technological environment, the legislative environment, and the consumerism demands to be able to direct the changes that will be necessary within your organization. Okay. And so as you contemplate the future, the future of healthcare is so wide open, it's so beautiful. There are so many other things to consider. And so we encourage you to really look around, see where you are right now, and consider where it is that you would like to go, and identify your preferable future and begin to make decisions towards that preferable future. However, remain open to advancing yourself. And sometimes advancing oneself may mean making changes. Okay. Remember, when I started, I was a nurse on the pediatric floor. Then I went to male surgery. Then I went to ICU. I then actually, when I took a new position, I stepped back, went back to med surge. Okay. Then went to trauma, went to post anesthesia care, then went into organizational development. Yes, went into organizational development, believe it or not, because at that time I had gone to school, back to school, and I got my upgrades. Okay, got my upgrades. All right. So once I had my Master of Science and I matched it with my nursing knowledge, then I was able uh, to contribute to organizational development. Okay. And then even with that, went into uh, education and then moved into management and leadership. All right. So even though when we start out, we think, oh, okay, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a pediatric nurse or a nurse in ICU. Okay, remember, that's just the beginning. But as you venture into the future, you need to also be preparing to make those changes. Okay. But just consider the fact that and incorporate what we call a continuing educational posture. And so you will increase your value even beyond what you can recognize. Sometimes it will take your supervisor to help you to recognize your value to the organization. Okay, and that's okay. Okay, just ensure that you continue to make yourself valuable, keep yourself valuable by considering your future at all times. As I said, I encourage identifying your preferable future, getting yourselves prepared for that by making the decisions and sticking to the decisions. And once you get to your preferable future, then you open yourself to the future, to the other dimensions of the future that may be available to you. All right. So you have your future ahead of you. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. All right. And so I encourage you now to write it down. Write it down. All right. So I'm giving you an assignment to write down your future, what it is that you would like to do. So write down what your preferable future is, the requirements needed to advance and to meet that preferable future. You want to outline also how you choose to meet the requirements and what leadership impact you will leave on the healthcare industry. So you're going to take the time, you're going to write it down, and in the future, you will have that to reflect on. I remember looking back at what I had written down. And as a matter of fact, I think I spoke it out because one day my mother actually looked at me and said, "Hey, you've met your goal. I remember you speaking this." And then it happens. Okay. So it's very important to write it down. And when you write it down, it will help you to identify when you've achieved it. But once you've achieved it, then it's time now to look to the future, to what's next. All right. All the opportunities, all the educational opportunities that are available, all the opportunities to expand your experience. All right. So that you can obtain your preferable future and contribute to the future of healthcare. All right.